Some of you requested it. A lot of you were very patient to see if it would ever happen, but now I finally bring you guys a new segment to my channel called Classics in Theaters. And what better way to kick off this new channel segment than with a film that I just saw tonight, which had its one night only re-release into theaters because the Blu-ray release is coming up very quick on Tuesday, September 6th, which is one of the most classic gangster flicks you will ever see, and a true 80s icon in pop culture that is none other than the classic Scarface. And if you don't know what Scarface is, which I'd be very surprised if you have not, because I know just about every person that I have got to know has seen this movie already, it goes a little something like this. In May 1980, Cuban dictator Fidel Castro opens up the Mariel Cuba harbor to 125,000 people who want to reconnect with their families in the United States. A lot of these people are looking for a new life in a more positive direction, a very hard-working one at the same time. But there is one person in particular that is not looking for that, and that is the very infamous Antonio Montana. And I just made such a fail at trying to sound like him. And what chronicles once you're introduced to this famous character is one of the greatest rise and fall gangster epics you will ever see on screen. Scarface was one of the first films that I saw that really changed my viewpoints in film because I saw it alongside Pulp Fiction. That's why my opinions really started to change for movies when I started to look for a lot more than just entertainment value. I looked for appreciation of the aspects and like the acting, directing, and writing and all that stuff. It really helped me do that. But the fact that I got to see it in theaters and then like know everything that's coming up and seeing it on the big screen in high definition and modernized sound, it just made the experience even better. It was interesting to see this in theaters because they started off with a 20-minute documentary which had interviews with a bunch of Hollywood filmmakers, stars from the film itself, and Hollywood personalities as well, in which they shared their thoughts on how this film has become such a pop culture phenomenon and a major cult classic among movie lovers across the nation and world even. The main reason why this movie works so well though is because of Al Pacino's commanding, intriguing, and very intimidating but very entertaining performance as Tony Montana. I'd almost like to compare his performance to Christian Bale's in The Fighter because he fully relishes himself within the character of Tony Montana. He transforms his look, the accent, which he nails down one of the best Cuban accents I've ever seen. Very flawless in my opinion. But also, the character is so multifaceted in his personality that there are so many times where you're gonna hate him for what he does, you're gonna like what he does, and then at the same time you just don't know what to think of him. But then there are times which you'll laugh at some of the stuff he says because he has such a smart-ass personality while also being wise in some of the decisions he makes as well. You just cannot help but love his character, and the way that Pacino brings him to screen is just perfect because anytime that you see him, you're just going, oh, what is he gonna do next? Oh, I bet he'll do this. Or, wait, he could do that too. But then you'll find yourself laughing at some of the one-liners he says, or the great conversations he has with his best friend Manny, played by Steven Bauer. And Pacino is backed up by an amazing supporting cast, as I said, with Steven Bauer as Manny, who probably gives the second best performance in this film, Michelle Pfeiffer as Elvira, and I kind of forgot a lot of the other names, for instance, the guys who play Omar, Frank, Sosa, Chi-Chi, Angel. I forgot all those names, but those guys are really good as well. I'm sorry I forgot them though. This is such an ultra-violent film, which it is so bloody when it comes to any violent acts that are committed. But at the same time, it was a revolutionary tactic for Hollywood because you had films like A Clockwork Orange, The Last House on the Left, the Wes Craven version of course, but then you also had the original Straw Dogs and a bunch of other films as well that were really pushing the boundaries of what Hollywood would say is passable violence, in which it was trying to prove a point that we can make stuff as horrifying as possible while still retaining a reasonable rating at the same time. Because it's interesting for Scarface because it was rated X 3 times before it was released, which hardly ever happens for a film. Oliver Stone's script is genius, as not only does it carry you on this engrossing adventure of Tony Montana, but also has so many of these great one-liners, because at the same time while you'll be on the edge of your seat of all this stuff that leads up to the epic finale, you're laughing a lot too because the one-liners are very clever in between all the conversations that a lot of these characters have, especially the ones between Tony and Frank and the other ones with Tony and Manny, as I said before. Theater I saw this movie was like 3/4 full, but when I walked out, this average guy who was kind of like dressed a little bit like me, but he had like very short hair and was wearing his hat up front, he said, "You know what they gotta bring back to theaters? Casino." Wise choice right there. Definitely hope you're listening to that, Mr. Scorsese. Seeing Scarface on the big screen is definitely an unforgettable experience. I love the movie so much. However, I wouldn't say it's perfect, like a 5 out of 5 really, but still, in my book, it is still pretty damn good. I'm going to give it a very strong 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I hope you enjoyed my review of Scarface. This Saturday, I might be seeing Blue Velvet in theaters, which will be the first ever David Lynch movie I have ever seen in my life, and in theaters as well. So you can maybe expect something for that on Saturday night, very late Saturday night actually. So in the meantime, I'm Tyler from Cali Creek Reviews. You can maybe expect a Red State review coming up, and you'll definitely get some for Apollo 18 and Shark Night 3D. So I'll see you guys later.